Hello and welcome to the KEV Talks podcast. This is the podcast for anyone interested in hearing industry-leading best practice processes, particularly from people in the healthcare, technology, and public safety spaces. Lessons learned are shared and knowledge passed on through facilitated conversations or solo episodes with host Kevin Pinnell. That's me. Kevin shares his 20 plus years of experience as a U.S. Navy veteran, public safety professional, and healthcare IT program and project manager. In the end, this podcast has a little something for everyone, especially those who want to make progress in their personal and professional lives. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, for subscribing, and now let's hear more about this episode. Chase O'Donnell grew up in a suburb of Los Angeles, not far from Hollywood. In fact, she started her career in show business at a very young age as a dancer on some hit shows, including The Gilmore Girls, and now she is a playwright. She has been on shows off Broadway called Two Blondes. She is a stand-up comedian, has been for a while, is opening for Christina P, traveling across the country, and has her own special coming out called People Pleaser that comes out on February 9th. I am very happy and had fun with this interview. Chase O'Donnell. Hey everybody, thanks for coming back to the KEV Talks podcast. I am joined with Josh Potter, podcast guest of the year winner, and much more, Chase O'Donnell. Chase, thanks so much for being on the KEV Talks podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and I've never been introduced that way. What an honor.
There you go.
Thank you.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, I appreciate this is one of those, I think for folks, we'll give them something right now. If you reach out and ask, some people say yes. And I reached out and said, hey, I love your videos you do. And we'll talk about that, where folks can reach you on Instagram and all the other stuff you do. But if Broadway plays were real, if I said that correctly, just hilarious, and reached out and you agreed to be on here. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm so happy to do this.
Cool. And we're, I think, practically related. You have family from Virginia. I am in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. Look at that.
I know that my grandpa was born in Virginia and raised.
Oh,
but cool. Lived there up until his 20s, but I've never been.
Oh, there you go. Got to check out the East Coast or not, or stay in sunny California.
No, I should check it out. I should check out Virginia.
Cool. Yep. I'm in Southwest in the mountains. It's pretty nice here. Although I'm glad when I go for walks and visit folks in the flat part of Virginia, I'm like, okay, we're not walking in the mountains, which is nice, but that's not why we're here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Lots of skiing out there?
Not real close to where I am, but not too far, like over toward West Virginia, where it's a little more mountainous and they have resorts and things like that. So
I'll be in West Virginia in May.
Oh, cool. Very nice.
But I figure that's different.
Yeah, officially it is different.
I figure that's a different state. Okay.
It's funny because I just talked to a guy who did what's called a staff ride. It was a leadership thing. So we went to Gettysburg and we talk about the decisions made and all that. And of course, around the 1800s, Virginia and West Virginia were one big thing, and it was all Virginia. So we actually touched on that. But yeah, it's interesting the split there. So that's cool. So that'll be part of the tour that we'll learn more about, which is also very exciting. A lot of stuff going on. But let's kind of start from the beginning. You're from the West. So where'd you grow up? And again, you dove right into showbiz pretty early. So let's learn a bit about you.
Okay. I grew up in Southern California. Kind of LA, but the suburbs.
Gotcha.
Suburbs of LA.
Okay.
And I have a very, creative family. My mom was a dancer and she was a dance teacher, and she put me and my sister into dance like very early. And my dad's a writer, and he's an incredible guitarist, and there's just so much creativity in our family. So it just, there was no question that me and my sister were both going to have a career in the arts as well. It's just kind of all we knew and all we know. We joke now that like we didn't even know that having a normal job was an option. Like we would have loved if our parents were like in high school, like, why don't you guys think about, going to college for being a lawyer or a doctor or like, something with some money and stability. But we didn't know that like, it was like, of course we're going to follow our dreams. And of course we're going to pursue, the arts. So it's, grass is always greener, but it's definitely been it has its challenges, but it's at the end of the day, I think it's pretty cool that that I've taken this path. So I started dancing really young, like at 2.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Very,
Holy smokes.
very young.
No,
Oh
no,
yeah.
no
I was
doubt.
in class young. Um, and and then it was around high school that I got into theater, and I fell in love with musical theater. Love, love, love it. And then I went to college for theater and comedy specifically. Like
Okay.
I loved acting, but not dramatic acting, please.
Right.
Who has time
Too
for
much.
that? Oh my god, I didn't like, you had to like, in order to be a dramatic actor, you have to like tap into these dark memories and
Bring all the pain out.
places, and I mean, for it to be real, you have to like live this really dark experience, and
Oh
it
wow.
wasn't for me. I felt so like, oh god, because I do believe in law of attraction very much,
Okay.
and I would always be worried, like, oh my God, universe, this isn't really what I'm thinking. Don't worry. I'm acting. It's really
Don't bring the
dark.
bad things. Yeah,
Don't
it's
bring the
super
bad
fun.
things. I'm acting. Um,
So
anyways,
did you
yeah,
like making people laugh all growing up then?
definitely. With
Good.
dance, there's a lot of acting in dance if you choose to act in your dances.
Yeah,
But
gotcha.
I in any performance, I had a lot of um, pizzazz. I would try to make people laugh just with the
Nice.
dances. So yes, from a very young age, I just loved making people laugh. And then when I found out like I could actually act and make people laugh, even better.
Bonus, no doubt.
Quicker to the point. Yeah.
Was it before high school? Because we touched on this when we met that you had opportunity to dance on film. Was that before you were even in high school? When you were
Oh
at your
yeah.
dance school?
Yeah, at my dance studio, because it was so close to LA, we had lots of opportunities to be on TV shows. Whenever they needed dancers, they'd come to our dance studio.
Oh
So
wow.
I was on Gilmore Girls, from age 9 to 14, just as one of Miss Patty's dance students,
Wow.
and all other little shows like Providence, Judging Amy, just shows wherever they needed a dancer, I'm
No
probably
big
there.
deal. I just,
I would go
fit the
on
bill. That's
set
awesome.
and be a dancer, like a
No kidding.
ballet little dancer. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I definitely had like experience on set growing up.
Gotcha. Which I would imagine that made you just comfortable as got older and got more into theater and more into standing up in front of people or
Yeah, and it like made me realize how much I love being on set. Like it's
again.
so fun. I
Was
just
that
like, it was like Disneyland for me. So, yeah,
that's
I
cool.
enjoyed it.
Is it just being around other creative people, just all of it? Because I mean, it sounds awesome, right? I'm sure folks listening and just people that see the behind the scenes parts of movies and shows and stand up and things. It's just like, wouldn't that be cool? And they get snacks and they get to do all these kind of things. Was it just all of it, or any
Yeah.
particular thing that kind of struck you?
Well, like Gilmore Girls shot on the WB lot, which is where Friends was filming. So
Oh
like,
wow,
and that was like, it was, so popular always, but at the
right,
time still so popular. So I like, you'd be in the cafeteria and it would be the Friends cast, and it just like you were around, like it was just no big deal. You're just
right,
around all these people, and it was like all these different worlds, like, and you just walk from one place and you're like in Connecticut, and then you walk here and you're in in New York, and I guess Connecticut and New York aren't that different. That was a
gotcha.
bad example.
I
But
know what you mean though. It's like you're stepping into.
but
You're like,
you're
how
just
did I?
stepping into different
Yeah,
worlds. It's really fun. It's really fun to be on a studio lot like that.
I bet. And you're in the world that most folks only see from their living room, and you're like, oh, that's the folks that just did the scene that I loved or whatever, on the show. That's pretty awesome.
And because I was so young, I didn't have like, oh, I don't deserve to be here. Oh, I'm nobody. Don't worry. I just was like a
Oh,
kid,
gotcha.
and it was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be here. I'm amazing. Oh
It
yeah,
was no
like
bigs.
no big deal. So it just made me feel very comfortable being on a set too.
That's cool. That's good. So is that something that you would suggest for folks is to either start their kids, or if their kids are young and are excited to get into show business of some sort, right? Dance, comedy shows, to that starting young helps kind of get you ready, because you could hear the other side too, right? Where it's a negative
Oh yeah.
impact.
No, see, that would not be my advice.
Okay. Okay.
I think because I begged and begged and begged my parents to put me into acting and let me audition. Like when I around like 14, I was like, please, I just want to be on TV.
Oh, wow.
Please. And they would not let me, which in hindsight makes so much sense
A good
because
thing. Yeah.
child actors tend to have some issues.
Right.
But what they did do, which I'm very, very grateful for, is put me into class and like they're just like, if that's what you want, then you're going to train and you're going to get really good. And that is my advice, is training. I have
Gotcha.
so much training that
Right.
I feel very confident with my um, skills because of the amount of training I have.
And a lot of that was part of, was it the groundlings and then other training as well, like formal, well, I guess both formal training, like kind of formal education, things like that, and the
Yeah.
groundlings?
And I know that's like a privileged thing for me to say, was that I got to take class, because I know not everyone has that
Into them.
opportunity. But um the dance studio, being in dance class, it helped because my mom was a dance teacher there,
Right.
so I just kind of lived at the dance studio. So that's very lucky that I was
Yeah.
able to take so much dance class. And then I took acting classes and I took singing classes.
Wow.
And then like in the acting class field, it's not just acting, it's like cold reading classes and audition classes and scene study class. There's so many
Oh,
different
wow.
classes within acting. And then I went to the Performing Arts High School,
Oh, cool.
which there's for kids listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Um, there's usually a Performing Arts High School in a big city.
Okay.
There's a couple in like LA, Orange County, San Francisco, but I know like in cities
Big
they'll
cities. Yeah.
have some sort of performing arts school. And that's, then I had all day long just like different acting classes, different dance classes, different singing classes.
Wow.
Um, and then I went to college for theater and trained even more in
Wow.
Shakespeare and Chekhov. And the amount of training I have is too much. Like, you don't need this much training for
No,
comedy, but let me tell you, I'm trained.
but you finding it helps today though? Like, that it's you're building on it, or it just
Yeah,
is, you
it's
just have it. Yeah.
interesting because what I noticed once I got into the real world and started auditioning,
Mhm.
um, it's looks. In Hollywood, it's, do you look the part? And
Gotcha.
it doesn't matter if you can act. It's just, what do you look like?
Gotcha.
So I don't even know if it's helpful, but it's given me confidence that
Oh, good.
I know that I'm capable of. I've had my 10,000 hours.
Wow.
So
Yeah. That muscle memory is there.
that's always helpful. Yeah.
That's cool. And it sounds like, because I don't know if it's always been a debate, but like, should I go to college versus a trade school? Should I do this for what's practically, because college to me and I have a bachelor's degree, is like, hey, you finished something, right? But I went to college and I have a home insecurity degree, but I'm a project manager in healthcare IT. So I use
Wow.
principles, but I don't, use my degree like if I was an
Ugh.
engineer. But if I went to trade school, or it sounds like, which sounded awesome, we're going to teach you not only how to do this creative part of it, but also when you show up for something, how to read. When you do these things, it's directly applicable to going out in the world and trying to get parts and be in shows and do what you want to do. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, but with acting, again, you don't need, they
Oh,
don't
that,
care.
okay.
They don't care if you have a
Gotcha.
degree. With comedy too, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, in hindsight, these kids, the COVID college kids,
Yeah.
that all went, a lot of people chose to go to community college
Sure.
and just do it from home and save money. I think that's what I would have done in hindsight, because I'm still in debt from my theater degree, which
Gotcha.
is not
For now, just for
necessary
now.
for now.
Yeah,
Maybe one day I'll pay it off.
that's right. That's right. I mean, and it seems like you're headed that way and already doing it. But that's good advice. Is so some level of education helpful, but you don't have to go to school, have a degree, that
Don't
kind of
break
stuff.
the bank
Oh, there
for,
you go. Yeah,
I get it. I get it for other degrees.
sure.
I don't need to break the bank for your theater degree,
Right.
but I do think um just I'm clearly, because that's the path I took, I'm all about like getting trained in education. So yeah.
That's cool. Good. So did your education then open up doors because you also did go from the West Coast to the East Coast, right, for a bit on Broadway, no less. So not a small, venue for honing your craft and performing it with two blondes, TOO blondes, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool. So tell us about that. So you wrote that and then you changed it, which one would love everybody to hear about when I stop talking, and then but also to kind of talk about how you change it and being dynamic with kind of your product, so to speak. But so yeah, what took you out to the East Coast?
So there is something to like beginner's luck, I believe,
Uh,
before you get jaded by the industry. I was like auditioning straight out of college and booked a musical that was in LA,
oh wow,
but it was by the creators of Rock of Ages and Legally Blonde, and it was like this incredible show that I booked, and they took the show off Broadway. So we were all like straight out of college, right
huh.
around the same age. And we all got to move to New York together and do the show
Wow,
in New York off Broadway. So that was so cool. And so I just
I
like
bet.
moved to New York with a job off Broadway,
Off.
not
Sorry.
Broadway, but we can say Broadway.
There you go. Yeah.
And then anyways, when that show closed, I decided to stay in New York because my sister was living there and I was living with her. And um, I took the one person show that I had written in college as a template and turned it into a two-person show, which is Two Blondes. And
Oh,
we
cool.
did that off Broadway as well.
Nice. What inspired you to make it a two-person show and change it?
Savannah Brown is who I did the show with, and
Cool.
she's one of my closest friends. And she was living in New York and wanting to be creative and create her own work too. So we were just in the same place in our
Oh,
lives.
there you
So
go.
it was fun. Yeah, it was fun having a partner to do it with.
That's cool. So timing makes a difference too. How was the did you have kind of culture shock from West Coast to East Coast? Was it just living in the moment, enjoying, the opportunity off Broadway, but still very close to Broadway? But was it just too exciting to even, kind of think about that? But was it different?
It was New York was great when I had a job.
Ah,
Um,
that
it
helps.
was miserable. It is miserable being quote unquote a starving artist in New
Uh,
York. Because it's not an easy place to live. It's
right.
just really hard to, unless I would live in New York again if I was living in the penthouse overlooking Central Park and taking
Uh,
taxis. Lovely. I would do that.
that's a good setup.
But I was living in Brooklyn, so far away from the city, and like commuting on just like packed subways, and it was either scorching hot or freezing cold. And
Mm,
if you need to get your groceries, you're like carrying 4 bags on the subway, or you're like taking your laundry to a laundromat in the cold and the weather and the elements. I mean, it's just a hard way to live. And
right.
and it's harder because I grew up in sunny California,
Sure.
where I really didn't know how lovely I had it until I moved to New York. And now when I go back to New York, I have a great time, but it's because I'm
Sure.
staying in a hotel and I'm there for like a few days.
Right.
So New York, I really like. I've learned in short spurts. I didn't like living there.
Gotcha. Good
It's
to
tough.
know. But visiting is
I had a
just fun.
tough time, but I'll go
Yeah.
back when I'm a millionaire.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Sold. Cool. So we were off Broadway, adjusted, made it a two-person show, and then what took you back west then?
A quarter life crisis
Oh, that happens.
because I hated I really hated New York
Gotcha.
as we've learned.
Yeah.
Um, I was pretty miserable in New York, and the the apartment I was living in, they were like renovating it and kicked everyone out in the
Oh no.
building, like literally paid us to leave. And that's when my sister and I were like, okay, I think the universe just like is giving us a sign to get out of here. Like
Yeah.
we're literally getting paid to leave New York.
Wow.
So
Hopefully
yeah, I
help with the
just
ticket, plane ticket or whatever. So it's
oh
good.
yeah, my
Yeah.
sister negotiated a great deal.
Nice.
Um and I took the money and actually traveled to New Zealand for a month.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I traveled with that money and then I moved home.
Oh cool. Did you enjoy New Zealand?
Oh my gosh, highly recommend everyone goes to New Zealand.
Awesome.
Highly recommend everyone gets paid to leave their home and then use that
Right.
money to go to New Zealand.
So lessons learned, if you do get kicked out of your apartment, that's probably really expensive and you don't like living there, negotiate for a better deal, travel,
Yeah, no,
and
no,
then go home.
negotiate because if they say, "Oh, we can pay you like 1,000 to leave," which they try to do,
Uh,
that you can negotiate for so much more.
oh
They
wow.
tell you the lowest number they can, and most people in our building took that low number, but my sister like talked to a lawyer friend and worked that number up. So
Boom.
never take the low number.
There you go. Probably is that also good advice for folks in the biz for show business when you're booking things and getting picked to do parts? Do you do a lot of negotiation there or have you? I
No,
guess when you were younger, your parents probably would have, right?
no, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
been a negotiator.
Oh, cool.
So I guess that's good advice for me as well. Yes.
There you go. Good. Well,
I
hopefully you
do
get something out of
things
this show.
for free usually. People ask me to do something. I'm like, you don't need to pay me. Don't worry. Don't pay me. I'm so used to working for free that I have a tough
You
time
just do it.
being
Gotcha.
like, okay, I want more money actually. So yeah,
There'll be the
I need to
evolution
take
of your
that
rocket
advice.
to success then. That's so does your sister work in a field where she negotiates or that's just kind of part of
Hmm.
who she does? Yeah. Gotcha.
My sister's an artist. She's a street artist and uses like crochet
Oh
as
wow.
her. Oh my God, my sister's so cool. But she's been her own like boss running her like crochet street art business for many years and has had to negotiate many, many deals.
Gotcha. I've never heard of crochet street art. That's pretty cool.
I know she
Pretty
was
original.
like the first in she like pioneered this industry because now it happens quite a bit.
Oh,
But she
cool.
was the first. Yeah.
Nice. So you must have been pretty frugal with your money, earned some money in New Zealand, and again got back to California. What was your favorite thing about New Zealand?
Um, the nature,
Mm,
it's just so beautiful.
yeah.
Everywhere you look, it's just stunning. So I think that was my favorite part. But what I
Cool.
realized when I got back to California, there's so many places in California that look like New Zealand,
Oh,
and
neat.
I no longer need to go to New
Go
Zealand
there. Yeah.
just to see the beauty. I can drive up the coast of California. It's so pretty out here.
Gotcha. So is that something you do more? Is get out and get in the nature there more?
That's something I try to do. I have like I always say I want to, but um I don't prioritize it enough. I'm very like work, 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 career, career. Okay, I'm doing like I do feel like I should get out into nature more. It makes me very happy.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's science. Hashtag science.
Ooh.
Getting out and doing that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, cool. And then I imagine too, getting back to California, although New York from an outside perspective, also from what you hear in, different places, like has a lot of comedy clubs, LA, a lot of comedy clubs. So is that when you kind of really kicked up your stand-up comedy career is when you got back near your home base?
Yeah, I was always doing stand up in New York
Cool.
alongside of everything else I was doing. And then when I was back in LA, I got a job working on Curb Your Enthusiasm as a productions assistant because
Awesome.
when I moved back to LA is when I kind of like quit the acting auditioning side of the business. That's what like
Gotcha.
really made me miserable in New
Uh,
York. And I was like, I quit. Like, I hate that. I just want to be on set, which was like my first love. Like, I love being on sets. And so I just wanted to work behind the scenes on set. And I got this job on Curb after like probably a year of interviews. Like, it's very hard to
wow.
get into it. Once you're in that field, it's very easy to jump from job to job if you're good.
Gotcha.
But to initially get in is, oh my gosh, it's a
Hard to.
process. So I finally got this job, and I mean, what a miracle. It was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is like
It's
one of
amazing.
the
Yeah.
best comedy shows.
Right.
And yeah, so that was just the plan, and then do stand up on the side, and that's all I wanted to do. And then um luckily stand up really took off once I was just more focused on things that were making me happy. So,
Ah.
yeah.
Also, I was going to say a great lesson learned. I would imagine, right? It sounds like you do better when you do something you're enjoying more because you put more into it, right? And
Yeah,
just
and when you're more focused, because I also was so scattered, like
uh,
my focus wasn't anywhere, it was on so many things. So when it was just being focused on stand up, I
mhm.
was able to put more time into that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that that's what's like taken off.
For what's the average time of a comedy set that you do or yeah.
It's it depends. When you're starting, you need 5 minutes.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and then you go to a tight club 7 minutes, and then you
Gotcha.
need like 10 to 12 minutes
Okay.
when I'm touring. So my average is 30 minutes. When I'm
Gotcha.
on the road, I do 30 minutes,
So
and then
for
you're gonna need 45.
okay, so it gets longer the more experience you have and the more gigs you get and
Oh
the
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because I also when I first started stand up in New York, I didn't know that you were allowed to use the same material for
Oh
different
wow.
shows. I thought you had to do
Like new stuff all the time.
a different set every show. And I mean, let me tell you, I'm actually thrilled that that's what I thought, because the amount of 5 minute sets I was writing was
Right.
through the roof. And so
You've got
one
like
time,
encyclopedias of material now that you
yeah,
just get
so
rewriting it.
when I needed 25 minutes for the first time, I was like, "Oh, thank God I have all these 5 minutes built up."
A
So
lucky
it's
mistake then or
really
something,
lucky
right?
mistake. It wasn't until like, I mean, it's not like all the sets went well. I would bomb because I was like doing these new sets for the first time,
Uh-huh.
whereas the other comics were like honing their sets over time.
Okay.
And one comic came up to me and was like, you don't have to do new material every time. And I was like, oh,
Thank God they
wow.
thank goodness that person did that though, right? Said something. They could have just let
Yeah.
you keep going and going and going.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh
I
wow.
was writing like crazy. I don't know. I don't know if it was a curse though, because once she
Hmm.
told me that, I did not write nearly as much.
Oh,
Not
gotcha.
nearly as much. And it really was good to write that much.
So for a 15-minute set, how much time off stage do you put into that, like in the writing of it? Like hours? Or is
It's hours and hours and hours, and it's less the writing of it and more the bombing on stage of it. To
oh,
know, because you can write something and think it's funny and then go on stage and there's not a single laugh.
it's like
So
crickets.
um you have to, it's more the time on stage embarrassing yourself that's painful.
Okay. Is it so then if you're getting all the material ready, some you're going to cut out because it's just like, yeah, this didn't work. Are you just writing all the time, like
Yeah,
throughout your day?
I I wrote one new joke recently, and it worked. And it was like, great, a new joke. Okay, that adds 15 seconds to my set.
Right.
Like it's so like every like 12 seconds there
Mhm.
should be a laugh
Oh,
in a
gotcha.
stand-up set.
Okay.
So if you want the audience if you want it to be stand-up and not storytelling. So
Mhm.
it's like to get I mean, you're writing like seconds at a time. You're not writing minutes at a time. So it's so long of a process to get to like where I was when I filmed my special. I was very confident. I knew all those jokes worked. I
Gotcha.
knew there was jokes throughout the whole thing. And now that I'm starting over, it's like, oh my God. I mean,
Clean slate.
I'm already exhausted. Yeah.
Is that because, so to your point, and we'll touch on your special, but when you get to, when you've done a big show or you do a special, then folks that are going to watch the next one are going to know, hey, you did that last time, right? So do you try and just
Yeah.
prevent that as much as possible, but maybe leave some of kind of the favorite, so to speak, in there, or no?
No, I don't think you should leave anything in there.
Okay.
If I mean, listen, it depends. If you put a Netflix special out there, then you can't use any of it,
Oh
obviously.
yeah, sure.
I think I'll be at a place where I'll still be able to use my material
Hmm.
because it's not like it's going to be seen by so many people that I can't use it again. But I just think I'm also at a place where those jokes that I wrote for my special, I had been writing since 2015 and they're not me anymore. They're like an older version of me. That's what was
Gotcha.
that was my life, and I think it's exciting now. I can write jokes that are more my life now.
That makes sense. So your jokes reflect kind of where you are in life, right? In your perspective at
Yeah,
that time.
like
It's cool.
I had jokes about like living at home. I don't live at home anymore. Like I
Right.
there's it's just like it's not real if I'm telling these jokes anymore. Like it is time for me to move on.
Yeah. Right. Thanks. That was so 5 years ago or
Mhm.
whatever. That's awesome. So yeah, let's get up to your special. So, and because you, a couple great things, or probably more than that, but that we talked about or whatever you want to touch on as well, is so you're both touring and you have your own special. And so how did you get to that place? Did you, when you get to tour with someone, and let you talk about that? So you're doing shows right throughout LA and wherever else you've gone to, and then you kind of link up with the comedy circle of folks that do comedy, right, and other folks in addition to you, that people see in specials.
Yeah, I'm on tour with Christina P. I'm very, very lucky to have her as a mentor. She's like um just a big sister to me, and
Nice.
there's you know there's a lot fewer female comics than
Mm-hmm.
male comics, and I think it's so sweet of her to like nurture me, a female comic, and like she doesn't she doesn't see it. I feel like some people could be like, "Oh, I don't want competition," or like, "Why am I helping another girl?" Like she's
Right.
so like couldn't be kinder about just like wanting to help females in comedy.
That's great.
Um so anyways, that was really a huge help in my career because first of all, being on tour, other comics respect you a little more. I found like
Oh,
it's not
gotcha.
that they would say it, but I just like can tell they're like, "Oh, oh, you're on
Right.
tour with Christina? Oh, okay. Okay,
Gotcha.
then we think you're allowed to talk to us."
Now you're
It's
legit.
just yeah, it like something about it like really like helped me let other comics feel
Mhm.
like they could like talk to me, like I'm allowed to
Right.
be in the circle.
You never get out
And
of high
then
school, apparently. It's
yeah,
always
yeah,
groups.
you don't. And
Uh,
then it also just has been like boot camp because I
oh,
think
gotcha.
having to do shows across the country
Mhm.
in a different city and like different audiences and having to just like do it, I think that's where the best learning comes from. And I just got thrown into the wolves and was just like, okay. And
Yeah.
Christina also doesn't have a host. She purposely has me host and
Oh, cool.
open because it's harder.
On purpose. Yeah.
It's harder to host and open, and she definitely just wants me to like grow as much as I can,
Yeah.
because if I were to just open, there was already a comic before me that would have warmed up the crowd.
Okay.
I go on stage to a cold audience and have to warm them up and then get them laughing. And so it is hard. It is work.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a
But
great leadership thing is she's both teaching you stuff, but also pushing you, not just showing you, here's how you should do it or showing you, but also making you get the reps and do the hard stuff, which seems pretty invaluable.
she's definitely pushing me to make
That's good.
sure that I'm growing and not like just staying put.
That's cool. And also has been in some of your, if, and let me say the title right, if Broadway was real life or if musicals were real life,
If
musicals, right?
musicals are real, yeah.
Yeah. So if those, and what is your name on Instagram? Just because folks right now pause, go watch some of their hilarious and then come back.
Chase_O'Donnell.
Yeah.
But on TikTok, it's Chase_Elaine,
Oh, gotcha.
which I
Cool.
just found out
Oh,
is a porn star. Chase Elaine, which, oh, you know.
I didn't. That wasn't a
Oh,
yes, like I
okay.
know.
Oh, okay,
That was a,
okay.
oh, I was going to say, is there any way you can change the name to synchronize them? Because one, my practical brain was like trying to keep track of two different named accounts.
Oh,
Seems annoying. But no, I did
yeah,
not know
yeah.
the person, honey, if you're
Um,
listening to this.
well, I didn't know. I was getting all these comments like, "Ha ha ha ha! That would be
Oh,
your
gosh.
handle." Blah, blah. And I was like, I don't get it. Like, why is everyone laughing at this? And then someone DM'd me and was like, "Sweetie, Chase Elaine is a porn star." I was
Oh,
like, "Darn
no.
it, darn
Right.
it!" But
Dang.
that's my middle name. That's not like I randomly chose it. That's just, anyways.
There's a practical
Um,
application of it. Yeah.
yeah. So, that's my TikTok, and then my I post everything on Instagram too, though.
Cool.
Chase_O'Donnell.
Yeah, and for folks, which there's probably not many that haven't seen them, it's like half of the music, your voice, which is awesome from all your training, I'm sure. But because you sound good,
Oh my God, the
and
amount
then
of singing training.
there you go. And then the music from the music was actually playing, and then it like cuts off, and you're like on the street next to a homeless person, or you're like next to in a park, and everyone's like, "What?" And can I ask for some of the behind the scenes secret sauce? Do you
Uh-huh.
tell the folks before you film, or do you just do it and then get their reaction?
It's like 50-50. If
Okay,
I feel like I'm gonna be unsafe, I'll tell
right.
them.
That
But
makes sense.
like the homeless people, I did
Yeah,
tell,
makes
because,
sense.
and I knew the comments were gonna be like, "Honey, be careful."
Yeah,
I do get a lot of those. But most of them I don't tell. Um, Although I just filmed one in a golf course, and I know
uh-huh.
golfers are, I was scared. We didn't tell them,
Oh
but
my,
my performance wasn't good because I
you're like
was
nervous,
so nervous.
right?
First, I was nervous I was going to get hit by a golf ball. And then I was nervous, like, that I was going to get screamed and yelled at, which is the point. Like, we
Right.
want the reaction out of the people. But I ended up, like, we did it first with a group of golfers and I didn't tell them, and it just like didn't work. I was too scared.
Hmm.
So sometimes if I'm just scared, I'll be like, "Hey, like, do you guys mind just standing here? I'm going to do something. Like, don't worry." Just,
Right, right. It's
and
not,
sometimes
yeah.
people say no, which
Oh,
is the
gotcha.
problem of asking.
That's true.
Then
That's
you
true.
risk like just being told no, and then you have to wait a while to get another group of people.
Right.
But sometimes they're like, "What? Okay." And, but yeah, most of the time I don't tell people to get the most authentic
Right.
reaction out of them.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I could, which don't want to, but the golfers, yeah, if you mess up their hit, they get really
Yeah,
upset.
I know. Like,
Like,
cuz the my friend Nicole, who films them, who's just my favorite person, but she loves to embarrass me. So she tries so hard to not tell people. She's like, "No, just do it. Just do it. Go." Just, and I
was
have
she
to
the
take
cause
the
of getting
shot.
kicked out of one of your recent ones? Didn't y'all get kicked out of somewhere recently?
No, I actually did it with a comedian friend of mine, Tori Piskin, and
Gotcha.
I was like, they're not gonna like this. Like, I'm already iffy. Like, we need to change locations. And Tori was the one that was like, oh my God, who cares? Let's just do it. And she was like, no, they're not looking. Go, just perform. Go. They're not looking. And it was Tori who was so excited
Right.
she was
To
like,
just do it anyway.
This is my drug. Yeah.
And they were looking. So
we got
That's
kicked
cool.
out. And then
Oh, my.
Tori couldn't even go back into the bathroom where we like had our bags and stuff.
Oh, no.
They made her wait as the security went and got the bags. They didn't trust her.
Oh, my.
And then I'm sure they found my alcohol because I had vodka to swig
Beverage.
in case I was nervous. Because I need some liquid courage sometimes.
A quick medication.
Go through with these. Yeah.
Cool. So when you're not getting kicked out of places, filming hilarious and talented videos is like such a mix, which is great. And then touring, you're filming a special, which is pretty awesome. So you have your own special, and we talked about sets getting longer. Like, so how long is your set? When can folks see it? Where can they see it? And how is it getting to write your own special?
Yeah.
That was like 5 questions all at the same time.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. What's so cool is I was on tour with Christina, and there was a producer in one of the audiences in Cincinnati, and through crowd work, I found out his name was Chase and had the same birthday as me.
Huh.
And it's just funny. We just like always kept in touch. We like would just Zoom and catch up with each other. Like, we were very supportive of each other's careers. And he eventually was like, hey, Chase, we're, oops, I'm going to get a phone call. 1 sec.
Oh, hello.
And okay, it didn't ring on the computer. He was like, my production company is starting to film comedy specials and we want to do one for you. So it kind of just like landed in my lap. I got very lucky. I didn't like go pursue it. It just came to me, and I felt very ready because I had been like doing so much time on the road that I already knew what my special was going to be. So writing it I was really writing it for tour with Christina, and it felt like a really good time. Like, I felt like I was really prepared and knew these jokes so well, and it was time to like let them go and start a new chapter. So it was nice to be able to like have them filmed and like in a time capsule, so I like have proof that I did those jokes.
That's cool.
So it was lovely. And then that first show I did in New York, that we moved from LA to New York for the show.
Okay.
I was in LA doing a stand-up show, and the producer of that musical was there. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, this is my club. I own it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm filming a comedy special. Can I film it here?
Nice.
And he was like, absolutely. So everything just fell right into place with this special. And I just, I'm very lucky.
That's great. So networking is helpful. Networking negotiation seems to be helpful.
Networking, but just like, just being genuinely friends with the people you meet and keeping close. Yeah. Because the producer of One Day the Musical, which I did in New York, he's like, I think of him as a like dad figure. Like he was so amazing to all of us, and like it was such a special show because it was all of our first shows out of college, and so like we actually are super close. So it was just so random that I didn't know he had this club in LA.
That's amazing how that stuff works out sometimes.
And a little plug, it's the Bourbon Room.
I was going to say, what's the club? That's cool.
In Hollywood. They have amazing shows. Everyone should check them out.
Nice. There you go. Plug for the Bourbon Room and a show coming up. So how long is the show? When does it come out? Where can folks see it?
Yeah, it's comes out on YouTube February 9th. It's called People Pleaser, and it's, I think, 35 minutes is what the final edit is. Digestible.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Watching shows or stand-ups or something like depending on, I guess, what kind. And it was interesting you mentioned, whether you're doing stand-up or storytelling, where so that like a 12-second, here's a joke, and then laugh, and then joke. And then I imagine the storytelling is just that, right? Like at the end of the story, you realize something earlier was either funny or ironic or something like that. And so are
Yeah,
there other I don't
it's
know
a
what to say,
different skill.
categories of things, skills that you've learned or that kind of exist in the comedy world?
Yeah, I mean, I have tons of improv training. Back to my training.
There you go.
I mean, the amount of improv I've taken, my God. And that I I I I like stand up better because even though it seems like stand ups are coming up with stuff on the spot,
Mhm.
it is so written out. It is like a script. It's like a long monologue. And that's what
Gotcha.
I feel so much safer knowing that I'm going to be funny than going on stage and being like, maybe this will be funny.
Right,
It's
right.
so scary. It's so scary.
Everyone,
So,
fingers
you have to
crossed.
be so present with, I mean, you have to be present with everything,
Gotcha.
but with improv, I mean, you have to listen, listen, listen. And like, if you're lucky, you'll find a joke out of the listening.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
there's also sketch comedy, which I've done a lot of, and that's a different like writing skill. Um,
Like for Curb, essentially. Curb, or is that
no,
not considered sketch? Not really.
that's more like sketch would be like SNL type writing.
Okay, gotcha.
The writing for Curb Your Enthusiasm is actually all improv.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's no script. But
No
so
kidding.
because I would have loved to be on the like the writing team on Curb Your Enthusiasm, but
Uh-huh.
it's not even an option. They don't
Ha,
have one.
no kidding.
But for like yeah, other comedy shows that's just like scripted comedy, which
Okay,
is also another skill. So there's lots of different skills in comedy.
gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I actually have a cousin that writes comedy out there. We can see if y'all know each other offline or something. But he wrote, I forget, I think he wrote for The Onion a little bit, and
Yeah,
a few
that's
other
fun.
things out there. So
Hmm.
always loved comedy, funny guy, things like that. So it was cool to kind of
Yeah,
that was
no,
was my connection, to out west, of course.
yeah, no, there's definitely, if you want a career in comedy, there are so many different like jobs in comedy that you can get as far as like different types of writing
Hmm.
for different genres. Yeah.
That's cool. And
But
you
stand
still do
up,
writing, right?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I love writing like scripts.
Okay.
It's so fun. Um, but I was writing like I actually had jobs as writers,
Hmm.
writing for a children's show and then writing for National Lampoon.
Wow.
But right now the writing I'm doing is just for me to eventually maybe sell
Oh, cool.
as a show. But yeah, not getting paid
That's
yet.
awesome. Well,
I do a lot of stuff for free, like I was
I'll look
saying.
forward to re-promoting this when it's picked up
Okay.
by network or somebody else. I think we
Yeah.
will anyway. And speaking of promotion, so the show comes out. Does the special have a name that comes out on February 9th?
It's called People Pleaser, and it's
There you go.
also going to be
Cool.
on like iTunes or wherever you buy comedy albums.
Oh,
So,
nice. Oh, cool. On all the
yeah,
platforms. Well,
all the
cool. Well,
platforms.
so we talked about your Instagram, your TikTok that you share a name with somebody else that's famous for a different reason.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
where else could folks reach out to you or follow you? YouTube, we'll see the special there. But where else could folks follow you?
Um I mean Instagram's really the place I like to
Sure.
lead people to, but if you want to check out chaseodonnell.com, you're more than welcome to.
Oh, cool.
Be my
Yep.
guest, but I
We'll
would
share
say
all that in the show
Instagram.
notes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can just click on the link, just show up to the show notes, click on the links,
Yeah.
and hilarity will ensue. And you'll see it all. Thank you so much. It's great to talk with you and for being on the KEV Talks podcast. Good luck. It's amazing to me. To me, it sounds cool. Just kind of like you talked about how cool it is to be on the set of something, to tour and do comedy and be mentored and have your own special now. And so look forward to your career. Just keep taking off. It's pretty cool. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you. That's so nice of you. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Cool. Look at that. Everybody appreciates each other.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, that is it. Fun conversation with Chase O'Donnell. Again, she is Chase, CHASE _ODONNELL on the Instagrams. Follow her, watch her videos. It's funny. She was pretty cool to talk to. And I am Pannell KG, Pannell KG on Instagram. Same on Twitter. KEVTalksPod.com is the website. Feel free to give a donation if you'd like. If you enjoyed this, if you enjoy the show. If not, podcast is still free. Thanks for coming. Remember, have a plan. Keep your teams aligned. Stay informed with facts, not fear. And get involved so you can make a difference. And you know what? Have a laugh. Take care, and Godspeed.